Yes.
This is questions for Bob and Lisa, and I don't even know how to ask this, so I'm just gonna throw out a bunch of messy words. But if you're talking to like a first-time filmmaker, non-union of course, and you're thinking back on your experiences and how you would go about coaching these people, how would you handle like the casting of actors? I read a lot of studies. You don't want to cast your friends. Do you want to pay these people? If so, how much? And from like a legal perspective, do you need to involve like an entertainment lawyer to draft contracts up? And obviously, you don't want to have health insurance to pay these people. So, can you shed some light on that, please?
Sure. Well, I mean, I can tell you. First of all, casting's like the most fun part of the whole thing. It really is, because you've got your script. The script is close to done, and it starts to come to life. It's the most exciting, fun thing in the world, and actors are awesome, especially when they're acting. Actors oftentimes cannot park a car and get into a building without extraordinary amounts of help. But when they're acting, when they're doing that magic thing that no one else can do, the director and really the script supervisor are the only people that understand how great actors are, and of course themselves. And so, you're gonna love it. Like, that's the fun part, really, is for me. That's when the fun starts. Well, I love working with a writer too, and it's not an unsimilar relationship, because you're really getting someone's best. You know what I mean? You're trying to get the best out of them, and there's a way you are in the world that I like to be in the world with them. That is the best part of me. That's really what I do. That makes me feel really good about what I do. But the legality stuff is I mean, if you can find good actors and you don't have to go union, just make the movie. I mean, make it.
Are you saying don't go SAG?
Oh, well, yeah, if you don't have to go SAG, don't go SAG.
When you talk about not being union, are you talking about your crew or your cast?
Well, I'm talking about also making a movie on a very limited budget. So.
Right. I think SAG, well, the first thing I want to say when Bob talks about casting and how good he is at casting, Bob, he's right. If you see Psycho Beach Party, everyone from that movie, I mean, Amy Adams and Lauren Ambrose in particular, that kind of launched them. Like, Bob has a knack for finding, granted they're all SAG actors, so that's the pool you're starting with, but Bob, I do believe Bob has as much fun in it as he is working, because he finds all this talent that hasn't really blossomed yet, or that the world doesn't really know yet. And in our movie, you've got 8 really recognizable actors that have all been on TV and they've been in smaller films, but they haven't really exploded yet. And hopefully with this movie, they get a little more recognizable. But they were all SAG, and I think SAG may be a little bit more than the crew union, although the crew union has low budget opportunities too. Find a way, if you can, I think, to work with SAG actors, because there may be some very talented people that aren't in SAG, but if what you're putting on screen is, you want to put your best foot forward, and you want to put the absolute best talent that you can on screen, generally that's going to be SAG. And there are SAG or AFTRA maybe, because maybe in Ohio and in some other states, I don't know how strong the SAG union is here, but maybe there's AFTRA, which is American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. But if you find people that are maybe in a theater union or in SAG, or that are in some kind of union, that I think that you might find better actors, and there might be low budget agreements where you only have to, based on your budget, you might only have to spend $100 a day. If you can find a way to pay them something, or to do something where you can defer it, I think you'll get better talent in front of the camera.
Well, and SAG will work with you. I mean,
SAG will work with you, and if you're going to do the movie non-union, and you have a teeny budget, you might, like in a state like Ohio, you might actually be able to shoot with a crew that's non-union. The crew unions may not be as tough as they are in California, where every movie is shot, and now, since budgets are so low, they're going to come after you if you have a $200,000 budget. They're going to find you. So it may make sense to talk to the union beforehand and go, look, I've got no money. I want to use crew members. How can I do that? It's a risk you run, because you may not be able to actually use those union members. They may not make a deal with you. But in regards to health insurance as well, you can get workman's comp for the period of time that you shoot your movie, and I would always suggest doing that. Yeah. You're using equipment, you're dealing with all kinds of things that can happen on a set. I would make sure that you have your equipment covered and your crew and talent covered. That's a real liability I wouldn't suggest anyone get involved in. And I have worked for financiers who have said, I don't believe in insurance, which is crazy. I mean, I kind of
That's a really rich person.
Yeah, it's a
Those
really
are
rich person who
really
goes, God,
rare.
it's really insane. I'm going to pay insurance if something happens, but what if nothing happens? Like, I don't want to put money out there. And I go, well, that's a really nice theory. I wish everyone in America could believe that. But we kind of can't, because stuff does happen, and then if you don't have insurance, you're in a real pickle.
Is workman's comp separate from just the production insurance?
Yes,
Okay.
what I've seen people do on low budget movies is they've been able to like either get one policy that covers both,
Okay.
or if you have to do it piecemeal, you can actually get workers' comp through the state. It takes a little bit more time, but it's cheaper. So you can end up, if you get a production manager or a line producer, someone who's been involved in a movie before, who kind of knows some of these tricks, it's incredibly helpful to have that person on your movie.
The other secret of casting a low-budget movie, I will tell you, is that do not be afraid to rehearse these people to death in the audition process, because you may not get any rehearsal on the set. And I can tell you, there is a scene in 818 where the actress took a little Benadryl and was like a mess.
The last day of
shooting, and she didn't know. Like, she was a mess, and she was totally apologetic. And thank God the scene we shot was an audition scene for her. And the minute that camera rolled, she just hooked right in and nailed it. So, you know, I mean, your casting director will sometimes say, "Oh, you know, I think, you know," and don't. Just make sure you got the one. When we were doing Psycho Beach Party, Charles Bush, also the writer, is incredibly helpful if you have a different writer than you. In telling you certain things about casting that you're looking for that you might not think of yourself. And we were doing Psycho Beach Party, Charles said, because he wrote the play 12 years before we shot the movie, he'd seen a gazillion chiclets, and he said, when you're casting Chicklet, there's a lot of girls who can play Chicklet. There's probably a few that can play Chicklet and Anne Bowman. For those who know, she has a multiple personality. Her other personalities are she's a surfer chick, an S&M dominatrix, and then there's a black supermarket checkout girl that comes out at one point. And he said there's probably only one who can do all three, and that's why we cast Lauren, because she really, I mean, for other reasons too, she's a wonderful actress, and you know, we knew. But even the cast in our movie, even though they're not household names and they don't get you really money to make the movie, all of them are coups. I mean, there wasn't one person in our movie that, you know, getting them to come into audition isn't a huge coup. I mean, that's how hard it is to find really good talent for your movie. And we had no money, you know, really, by relative SAG, you know, you have a casting director kind of terms. So it's tricky and really important. It's why it will stratify your movie, you know, who's in it. That's the biggest thing that anyone wants to know.
Let alone the great performance.
Well, it's wonderful to have
Yes.
terrific actors and
Yes.
they give great performances, but you know, for selling it, it's all about who they can put on the video box, and the performance is really secondary.
Okay. Well, I think that unfortunately is it as far as our time goes. So I'd like to thank, if we could, Kenji Yamamoto, Bob King, Lisa Shockett, and Danielle Wilma. Make sure you still have a chance to see 818, and you still have the chance to see Eleanor and the Timekeeper, so if you can, please do attend, okay? Thank you for coming.
Yay!
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was fun.